No one knows that the hacked 2017 Game of Thrones ending is the real one. The fates of every key character were vastly different from the HBO version. The Night King took control of Rhaegal and killed Bran. Meanwhile, Daenerys, who was pregnant with Jon Snow's child, retreated to Dragonstone to await the birth. Jon and Jaime, facing relentless defeat, fell back to the Eyrie to prepare for a final stand. Euron and Cersei seized Storm's End and used it as a base to launch an assault on Dragonstone. Humanity seemed helpless against the army of the dead, but Jon and Jaime arrived just in time, with Dragonfire wiping out many whites. At the Eyrie, Brienne was slain by one of the White Walkers. Jaime fought his way to her side, promising to fulfill her oath to protect Stark girls. Meanwhile, Euron ordered the Golden Company to attack Dragonstone. Daenerys, suffering a difficult childbirth, was left weakened. As enemy forces stormed the castle, Varys mercifully ended her suffering with a sword thrust, though her child survived and was named Lyanna Targaryen. On the battlefield against the White Walkers, Jorah Mormont wounded the Night King with a dragon glass spear, allowing Jon to deliver the final blow, destroying the army of the dead. However, the Golden Company seized Daenerys' body and brought it back to King's Landing. During the chaos of the battle, Arya, the Hound, and others were separated from the main force and chose to go to King's Landing for revenge. Jon, grief-stricken over Daenerys' death, led his remaining forces to the capital. Meanwhile, Jorah and others hid with Jon and Daenerys' infant daughter. Cersei, upon hearing of Daenerys' demise, smiled and sipped a glass of wine, only for Qyburn to remove his face, revealing Arya Stark. Cersei's lips soon dripped with crimson blood. Euron, now without Cersei, was cornered by Jon in the dragon pit, but the pit was secretly lined with wildfire, and Drogon's flames ignited it, killing Jon, Jaime, the Hound, and Jorah in the explosion. Years later, Tyrion served as regent for Lyanna Targaryen, the daughter of Jon and Daenerys. Meanwhile, a White Walker carried Bran's body to an altar and plunged a shard of dragon glass into his chest. Bran's eyes opened, glowing an eerie blue, as he became the new Night King, and thus the story ended. Unbelievable, God's finale was totally fake. Jon Snow was meant to rule. This is the real story from the 2017 leaked script, where everyone got a proper ending. After Cersei blew up the Great Set rebellions erupted across Westeros, Jaime returned with his army to help her barely hold King's Landing. Meanwhile, Daenerys arrived with her dragons and unstoppable forces. Desperate Cersei planned to burn the city down like the Mad King, but before Arya, sent by Jaqen, could kill her, Jaime, horrified by her madness, stabbed Cersei himself. He then found love with Brienne. With no resistance, Dany took the throne, but the nobles refused to accept her rule. Needing dragonglass and southern support, Jon, advised by Sansa, proposed a political marriage to unite the realm. He brought a captured White south as proof of the White Walker threat, and with Tyrion and Varys' persuasion, Dany agreed. The Seven Kingdoms reunited under their alliance. Tyrion strategized while Dany led her armies north. Bran returned, revealing Jon's true parentage, and Dany legitimized him as a Targaryen. The final battle happened at Eastwatch, not Winterfell. Dragons fell. Dany was mortally wounded, and the Night King seemed unstoppable until she fulfilled Melisandre's prophecy, sacrificing herself to reforge. Bringer Jon, wielding the flaming sword, struck the killing blow. In the end, Jon Targaryen took the Iron Throne, with Bran as his hand and Arya as captain of the King's Guard. Dany and her dragons lived on only in songs and statues. Thus, the series truly ended. Daenerys actually offered a real dragon for just 8,000 unsullied. The greedy slaver kept haggling for more.
3 dragon.
1
2
1
But seeing no further profit to be made, he abruptly demanded her largest dragon. Drogon, Ser Jorah, moved to intervene, but Daenerys shot him a sharp glance and agreed without hesitation. Yet she made one puzzling additional demand. The slaver's personal slave girl, Missandei. The slaver agreed instantly, unaware this decision would seal his doom. As Daenerys lifted the chains binding the dragon, the slaver's eyes were locked greedily on Drogon, already imagining taming the beast. Carelessly, he handed her the whip that controlled the Unsullied. Daenerys cracked the whip and barked orders in High Valyrian. The Unsullied snapped to attention. Missandei, hearing her native tongue, suddenly understood why Daenerys had taken her. The slaver, still oblivious to his peril, snarled at Drogon's thrashing and demanded to know how to tame him. Then Daenerys spoke a single word, and his blood turned to ice. Realizing the betrayal, the slaver screamed for the Unsullied to attack, but the whip had changed hands. No one obeyed, just as he thought he might still escape using Drogon. Daenerys' familiar command reduced him to ash.
Dracarys.
With the slaver dead, one might expect her to leave at once with her new army, but instead she offered the Unsullied and slaves a choice to go free or to follow her willingly. Yet those who tasted liberation for the first time swore their lives to the breaker of chains. Daenerys cast aside the cursed whip, embracing her people not as slaves, but as followers. And so without spending a single coin, she gained the first army that would conquer Westeros. The girl effortlessly picked up a dragon egg from the lava with her bare hands, completely unharmed. It turned out she was the last remaining true dragon blood in the world. But before her 3 dragon hatchlings could emerge, tragedy struck her. Her once mighty husband, the Horse Lord, had been ambushed after a mere duel, though the fearless warrior clearly paid no heed to such a minor wound. His wife, the dragon mother, was deeply worried. She summoned the witch she had once saved to heal her husband. Little did she know this decision would lead to her family's ruin. During their travels, the robust Horse Lord suddenly fell from his steed. The dragon mother immediately sensed the gravity of the situation. In their tribe, only the strong were revered. If the Horse Lord did not recover swiftly, she and her unborn child would be cast aside. Yet despite everything, his condition only worsened. Desperate, the dragon mother turned to the witch, pleading for the woman's healing arts to save her husband's life. But the witch declared that only a blood magic ritual could restore him.
Only death pays for life.
Though hesitant with her husband on the brink of death, she had no choice but to agree. When she emerged from the tent drenched in blood, her tribesmen tried to stop her. Only her knight, Jorah, stood by her side, shielding her. But in the struggle to hold back the intruders, she was shoved violently to the ground. A sharp pain shot through her abdomen. The fall had caused her to miscarry. When she awoke, she was met with the loss of her child and a husband now in a vegetative state. Overwhelmed by grief and fury, she demanded of the witch. When her husband would wake, the witch coldly replied,
The sun rises in the west, sets in the east.
The dragon mother stared in disbelief. She could not fathom why the witch would repay her kindness with such cruelty. Unbeknownst to her, the witch harbored an ancient, unrelenting hatred for the Horse Lord's people. This was her vengeance, with her husband beyond recovery, unwilling to let him linger without dignity. She ended his life with her own hands. Then she executed the witch. She arranged her husband's body and the dragon eggs neatly for the funeral pyre. Having lost everything, she no longer wished to live. Slowly, she stepped into the flames, ready to follow her husband into death. Yet when the fire finally died at dawn, the next day, Jorah and the others were met with an astonishing sight. The dragon mother stood unscathed amid the ashes, and behind her 3 hatchlings peeked out curiously. For the true dragons, rebirth comes only through fire. And as she gazed at the young dragons perched on her shoulders, she felt for the first time the bond of the dragon blood in the land of smoke and flame. The legend of the dragon's return once again swept across the continent. Jon Snow actually tried to take on an entire army alone, all because of Ramsay's twisted game. Ramsay treated Jon's little brother, Rickon, prey,
Run to your brother.
casually taking aim with his bow. Without a second thought, Jon abandoned his own forces and charged forward, only to nearly get himself killed. Behind him, Davos. Seaworth watched Ramsay with grim focus, but Ramsay just smirked back. The next moment, Rickon fell dead. Jon couldn't believe his eyes. Consumed by rage, he drew his sword and rushed straight at the Bolton army, determined to kill Ramsay himself. But against Ramsay's cavalry, it was practically suicide. Just as Jon was about to be trampled, Davos and the allied forces surged forward, shielding him from the onslaught. Turns out Davos had seen through Ramsay's mind games and ordered the advance. But Ramsay, ever the madman, didn't care. He rained arrows down indiscriminately, slaughtering friend and foe alike. Then with a command, his infantry closed in shields and spears, forming an impenetrable wall. Jon was buried under bodies, death only a matter of time. Then cavalry horns blared. Sansa and Littlefinger arrived with the Knights of the Vale. She had anticipated this all along.
Now, if you want to save
You're going to die tomorrow, Lord Bolton. Sleep well.
With the Vale's forces, the tide turned instantly. Ramsay's smirk vanished as he fled back to Winterfell, thinking its walls would save him. But then, boom, the gates shattered. 1-1, the giant Rarhos jutting from his body broke through, defeated Ramsay, had the audacity to challenge Jon to single combat. Though battered Jon's fury over Rickon's death drove him forward, he blocked every strike relentless. Yet strangely, he didn't kill Ramsay. Instead, Sansa locked him in the kennels. Ramsay is still arrogant, didn't realize his fate.
My hounds will never harm me.
Until Sansa coldly delivered it.
Haven't fed them in 7 days.
And with that, the Direwolf banner once again flew over Winterfell. Did the Red Viper poison Tywin? Why did he say this?
Who gave you the order? Who gave you the order?
Was this just Oberyn's empty boast? It doesn't seem so. And Tywin's death in the privy is highly suspicious, isn't it? In fact, he had been unable to pass stool properly for days. So I suspect he was poisoned with a toxin called the Widow's Blood, a poison that causes constipation, ultimately leading to death. Martin repeatedly describes Tywin's corpse as reeking horribly in a feast for crows, which is a clear symptom of poisoning. The inexplicable presence of Shae in Tywin's bed further supports my theory. Tywin, who despised prostitutes his entire life, would never have allowed Shae into his chambers. Unless someone had placed her there, I believe that person was Oberyn Martell, the Red Viper. He was there to check on Tywin's condition. All of this stems from Tywin breaking his pact with Dorne. Looking back to the early stages of the War of the Five Kings, Robb Stark's forces in the north were winning battle after battle, while the Lannisters suffered defeat after defeat at that critical moment. Securing Dorne's allegiance was imperative. So Tyrion, acting on behalf of House Lannister, struck a deal with Dorne Myrcella would be betrothed to Dorne Prince. Dorne would take a seat on the small council in King's King's Landing. And most importantly, Tyrion promised to deliver the killer of Elia Martell, Gregor Clegane the Mountain. But after the Red Wedding, when the Lannisters emerged as the dominant power, Tywin told Oberyn, the man who killed your sister was Amory Lorch, and he was already eaten by a bear in Harrenhal. This answer, of course, did not satisfy the Red Viper. That's why he volunteered to be Tyrion's champion. A desperate move, as it was his only chance to face the Mountain himself and avenge his sister. Walder Frey suddenly tears off his face, revealing the visage of a young girl. And below the dais, every man lies dead poisoned. This was no feast, it was Arya Stark's meticulously crafted vengeance. After graduating as a faceless man, her first act was to hunt down the architect of the Red Wedding disguised as a serving girl. She offered Walder Frey a pie. When he asked where his worthless sons had gone, Arya slid the pie toward him.
Here, my lord.
Confused, Frey lifted the crust, only to find a fingernail nestled in the filling. She'd already butchered his sons and baked them into his meal before he could react. The girl's face melted away, revealing the Stark features thought erased years ago. The old man never imagined this consequence for breaking guest right. For slaughtering Robb Stark, Catelyn, and their bannermen at the Twins, the blade opened his throat mid-sentence. But this was only the beginning. The Red Wedding had many participants. Soon, Walder Frey hosted a new feast with every surviving conspirator in attendance.
The men who helped me slaughter the Starks at the Red Wedding, brave men, all of you.
Arya, now wearing Frey's face, toasted them. She raised her cup, but never drank one by one. She watched them swallow the poison wine. Yet when the young girl beside her reached for the wine, Arya stayed her hand. The child stared up at her father in confusion, unaware this mercy was her only chance to live. As her father ripped off his face, then the familiar face tore away like parchment as every man who drunk the wine collapsed choking. Only then did she understand the killer had spared her when all others fell. Not out of kindness, Arya's ice-gray eyes held no pity.
When people ask you what happened here, tell them the North remembers.
As they bore into the terrified girl, only a message colder than winter. In the end, House Frey reaped the bitter harvest of their betrayal of guest right. Arya Stark brought the Red Wedding's bloody debt to its final reckoning.